You ever feel like your nights have turned into hallway marathons? Up and down. Over and over. The clock says 1 a.m., then 2:30, then 4:15. And every time it's the same thing. Bathroom. Back to bed. Close your eyes. Wait. Maybe sleep comes. Maybe not. I'm Dr. James. I've been a doctor for over 30 years. But more importantly, I'm a man in my 60s just like many of you. And I've had these same conversations over and over again. Not in some cold sterile office but face to face with people like you. Real people. Tired people. Frustrated people. Let me tell you about someone I'll never forget. His name was Mike. 69 years old, retired trucker from Ohio. Big hands, quiet voice, never liked going to the doctor. His wife practically dragged him in. He said, "Doc, I'm up 5 times a night now. I've tried cutting fluids before bed, sleeping upright, even those fancy herbal teas. Nothing works. I feel like a zombie by morning." And you know what stood out the most? It wasn't just the physical exhaustion. It was the sadness in his voice. The loss of control. The way his nights no longer felt like rest but like a job he didn't sign up for. You see, we often think waking up at night is just part of getting old. But I can tell you from experience that's not the full truth. Sometimes it's not your age that's waking you up. It's what you're eating. Or more specifically, what you think is healthy but is actually silently working against you. Because believe it or not, some of the foods you're snacking on, especially in the evening, might be telling your bladder it's time to go before your body is ready to sleep. And for many of my patients, the worst part is they think they're doing the right thing. That's what happened with Mike. He thought his evening trail mix was harmless. Turns out one of the ingredients in it was one of the biggest reasons he couldn't stay asleep. We'll get into that soon. But for now, I just want you to know this. If you're waking up 3, 4, 5 times a night, it's not your fault. And it's not something you just have to live with. You deserve better rest. You've earned it. And once you understand what's quietly triggering those late night trips to the bathroom, you'll finally have a chance to take back your nights. Now let me show you what's really going on inside your body after 60 and why it's more fixable than you think. Let me tell you about Richard. 72. Former school principal. Sharp as a tack during the day, but by night he felt like his body was playing tricks on him. He told me, "Doc, I barely get 2 hours of sleep before I have to get up again. And when I do, it's not like I'm bursting. Just a little. Then back to bed. Then again. And again." He was exhausted. And confused. So we sat down and walked through what was actually happening inside his body. And I want to share the same thing with you. Because once you understand this, your entire relationship with nighttime can change. See, when we were younger, our bladder held more with less fuss. The muscles were stronger. The signals were clearer. And our brain produced more of a natural hormone that helped us sleep deeper and pee less at night. But after 60, that hormone drops. The nerves get a little slower. The bladder muscles lose tone. That means even when there's just a little liquid in there, the body sends a full-blown alarm. Get up. Go now. And if your prostate is a bit enlarged, which is common in men, or if the pelvic muscles have weakened, which is common in both men and women, it all adds up to more trips to the bathroom. Even when you don't really need to go. But here's the part most people miss. What you eat and drink throughout the day, especially in the late afternoon and evening, can actually make those signals worse. Certain foods irritate the lining of the bladder or make the kidneys push out more fluid just when you're trying to settle down and rest. It's like giving your bladder a microphone and telling it to scream at you all night long. That's what was happening to Richard. His nightly snack routine included something he thought was healthy. But it was quietly waking up his bladder every hour. When we made one simple change, things got better. Within 2 weeks, he told me, "Doc, I finally slept 5 hours straight. First time in years." And the best part, he didn't take any new pills. He just understood what his body was really asking for. So if your nights feel broken or your sleep feels scattered, it's not just age. Your body's still talking to you. Now let me show you the foods that may be speaking the loudest at night even when you think they're doing good. I still remember Harold. He was 70. A kind, soft-spoken man who spent most of his retirement reading mystery novels and taking care of his garden. He came in one day rubbing his eyes saying, "Doc, I don't know what's wrong. I fall asleep just fine, but by midnight I'm back up. Sometimes twice before the clock even hits 3. He looked tired. Not just in his face but in his spirit. As we talked through his routine, one thing stood out. Every evening around 8 he'd sit down with his book and a little bowl of mixed nuts. Said it helped him wind down. And I get it. It feels healthy. Crunchy. Natural. A good alternative to chips or cookies. But when we looked closer, 3 specific nuts kept showing up. The same 3 I've seen disrupt sleep for many of my patients without them even realizing it. First was cashews. They're creamy and comforting but high in something called oxalates. These compounds can irritate the bladder and even raise the risk of kidney stones. For someone already sensitive at night, that's like poking the bear. Second was peanuts. Now, despite the name, they're not really nuts. They're legumes. And they're often roasted with salt and sometimes hidden sugars. That combo can pull more water into the bladder and keep you running to the bathroom just when you want to rest. The third was macadamia nuts. Rich, luxurious, and full of fat. And while fat isn't bad, the heavy load right before bed can tax the liver and digestion. That can throw off your body's rhythm and mess with your sleep hormones too. Harold had no idea. None of it felt unhealthy to him. But after cutting out those 3 and switching to something gentler, his nights changed. He came back weeks later and said, "Doc, it feels like I got my evenings back." That small bowl he loved was quietly stealing his sleep. And that's the thing. Sometimes it's not about doing more. It's about knowing what to do less of. Now that you know what might be making things worse, let me show you the gentle allies that can quietly help you sleep better and wake up fewer times. They're easy to find. And they might already be in your pantry. A few years ago I met Doris. She was 73, full of life and sharp as ever. But sleep, that was her battle. She told me, "Doc, I go to bed at 10, but by midnight I'm in and out of the bathroom like clockwork." She had tried everything. Cut back on evening fluids, stopped caffeine, avoided alcohol. Nothing seemed to work. So we dug a little deeper. It turned out Doris had a small snack habit. Before bed she liked to munch on a handful of lightly salted mixed nuts. Just enough to take the edge off hunger. The problem wasn't the snack itself. It was what came with it. Let's talk about salt. After 60, our kidneys and blood vessels don't handle sodium the same way they used to. Salt makes the body hold on to fluid, but it also pulls more water into the bladder later on trying to flush it out. That extra pressure is one of the most common triggers for nighttime urination. Even so-called lightly salted nuts often contain far more sodium than people think. And that steady habit adds up night after night. Then there are oxalates. These are natural compounds found in certain nuts like cashews and almonds. In some people, oxalates can irritate the bladder lining, causing more urgency and discomfort. For others, they bind to calcium in the gut and increase the risk of kidney stones. Neither of those outcomes helps when you're just trying to get a peaceful night's rest. And finally, we need to talk about digestion. Nuts high in fat or eaten too close to bedtime can slow down your stomach's work. Instead of your body resting, it's up late trying to process food. That puts stress on your liver, on your sleep cycles, and yes, on your bladder too. Doris didn't realize how all these small details connected. But once we made a few simple swaps, lowering the salt, choosing lower oxalate options, and moving her snack earlier in the evening, things changed. She slept longer, felt lighter, and woke up with more energy. She told me it felt like her body finally calmed down. Sometimes it's not about adding more supplements or chasing new routines. It's about removing the quiet irritants that keep your body on edge. Now let me walk you through the 4 nuts that can actually help your bladder settle down, not stir it up. These are the gentle kind your body will thank you for. One of my patients named Carl changed everything with just a simple switch. He was 66, a retired electrician with a great sense of humor and a love for snacking. When he came to see me, he looked worn down. Said, "Doc, I'm up 3 or 4 times a night and it's messing with my mornings." He had tried sleep aids, changed his mattress, even wore those blue light glasses before bed. But none of it worked. So we looked at his nightly habits. That's when he mentioned peanuts and cashews. I asked if he'd be open to trying something new. Nothing extreme, just a few swaps. And here's what we changed. First, pumpkin seeds. They're small but mighty, especially for men. Pumpkin seeds are rich in zinc, which helps support the prostate. They also contain compounds that relax the bladder wall. For Carl, we started with just a tablespoon before dinner. Second, unsalted almonds. They have a lower oxalate load compared to other nuts and are packed with magnesium. Magnesium helps calm muscles, including the ones around your bladder. It also supports more stable blood sugar, which can reduce nighttime urination for some people. Third, walnuts. These are one of my favorites. Walnuts contain natural melatonin, which supports sleep and helps your body know when to rest. They're also rich in anti-inflammatory compounds, which makes them gentle on the bladder. And fourth, pistachios. When eaten in moderation and without salt, pistachios can support heart health and circulation. That includes the tiny vessels that support your kidneys and bladder function. Plus, they're high in plant protein and fiber, which keeps digestion smooth and stable. Carl was skeptical but willing. He swapped out his evening trail mix for a small mix of those 4. Nothing fancy. Just a few in a small bowl an hour or 2 before bed. 2 weeks later, he told me something I'll never forget. "Doc, I slept 6 hours straight and I didn't even know that was possible anymore." That's what I call a quiet victory. Sometimes the path to better nights is not about doing more. It's about choosing better. Now, what happens when you pair these with the right foods in the evening? Not only do you sleep better, but you might even feel more steady, more regular, and more in control the next morning. Let me show you how. Jack was 68 when he came to see me. Retired Army mechanic. Quiet. Strong hands. But that day he looked worn out. Eyes heavy. Shoulders low. He said, "Doc, I'm just tired." Not during the day, really. It's the nights. I'm up 5, maybe 6 times to pee. I can't remember the last time I slept straight through. We went over his labs. Everything looked decent. Blood sugar okay. Blood pressure under control. No signs of infection. But his face told me what the numbers didn't. He was exhausted. I asked him about his evening habits. And that's when he mentioned a small routine he had. Every night around 9 he would grab a handful of mixed nuts and watch TV with his wife. I told him, "Jack, I want you to try something different. Just one change. Swap that handful for 1 Brazil nut. Just one. And do it earlier, around dinner time." He raised an eyebrow. "1 nut." I nodded. That 1 nut is packed with selenium. And selenium does more than support your thyroid and testosterone. It also helps calm inflammation and balance some of the hormones that influence how your kidneys handle fluid. He agreed. Said he'd try it for a couple of weeks. 3 weeks later he walked into my office looking different. Eyes clearer. Shoulders straighter. He said, "Doc, I'm not saying I'm 25 again. But last night I only got up once. The night before not at all." Then he smiled and added, "My wife says I'm less grumpy too." We laughed. 1 Brazil nut. That's it. Not a prescription. Not a new machine. Just nature doing its quiet work when we let it. And it's not just about selenium. That small nightly ritual sent a message to his body. A signal to rest. To rebuild. To trust that better nights are possible. Your body is always listening. And sometimes one simple change is all it takes to turn the tide. Now imagine what can happen when you combine the right nuts with the right foods. Not just to help you sleep but to help your whole system feel balanced and steady again. Let's take a look at what that can look like. Let me tell you about Martin. He's 74 and a retired science teacher. The kind of man who loves reading food labels and asking thoughtful questions. He came to see me not because he was sick but because he was curious. "Doc, I've been listening to your advice. I swapped peanuts for pumpkin seeds. Started eating a few walnuts at night. But I still wake up sometimes. Could it be what I'm eating with the nuts?" I smiled. Martin was on to something most people miss. See, it's not just what you eat. It's what you pair it with. Especially in the evening when your body is winding down. So I gave him a few gentle suggestions. Simple combinations that help calm the nervous system, support steady blood sugar and encourage the bladder to stay quiet through the night. First, I suggested pairing almonds with a small cup of warm unsweetened almond milk. Almonds offer magnesium and fiber. The warm milk adds a soothing element. Together they create a signal to the brain that it's time to relax, not run to the bathroom. Second, try walnuts with a few slices of banana. Bananas contain natural potassium and a touch of slow-digesting carbs which help support deeper sleep. The combination works well for men who feel restless or wake up too early. Third, I told him to try pumpkin seeds with a bit of plain Greek yogurt. The seeds bring zinc and tryptophan. The yogurt offers protein and gut-friendly bacteria. That combo helps balance digestion and hormone signals overnight. And finally, for those who like a little crunch, I recommend unsalted pistachios with a few thin slices of apple. The fiber helps you feel gently full without being heavy, and the natural sugars in the apple do not spike blood sugar when balanced with the fat in the nuts. Martin gave it a try. A different pairing each night. No big changes, just small thoughtful choices. A month later he told me I'm sleeping longer. And I feel less bloated in the morning too. That's what happens when you listen to your body and work with it, not against it. It's not about being perfect. It's about being kind and consistent. Now let me show you what common snack habits are quietly undoing your progress and how to spot them before they disrupt your nights again. A while back I met Peter. He was 70 and proud of how well he took care of himself. Walked every morning. Ate salads. Stayed away from sugar. But he still had one major complaint. "Doc, I'm doing everything right but I'm still waking up 4 times a night. It makes no sense." So we walked through his routine. That's when I started to see the pattern. Peter had a habit of eating what he thought were healthy evening snacks. And they sounded healthy. But they were quietly making things worse. His favorite was a protein bar filled with almonds and dates. Another was granola clusters with cashews. Sometimes he had a spoonful of peanut butter with dark chocolate chips. All things you might find in the health food aisle. But here's the problem. First, sugar. Even natural sugar from dried fruit or dark chocolate can cause blood sugar spikes and crashes. That roller coaster can trigger adrenaline in the middle of the night, waking you up even if your bladder wasn't ready yet. Second, hidden salt. Many protein bars and snack mixes are loaded with sodium. Even if they don't taste salty, that salt still pulls more fluid into the bladder, leading to more nighttime urgency. Third, late eating. Peter often had these snacks right before bed. That gave his digestion no time to rest. His body stayed active, working through food instead of focusing on deep sleep and bladder control. So I asked him to make a few changes. Swap the bars for a handful of raw almonds. Move his snack to earlier in the evening. Skip the dried fruit and instead have a few slices of fresh pear. Just 2 weeks later he said, "Doc, it's like my nights belong to me again." It wasn't about cutting out everything. It was about understanding the why behind what wasn't working. Sometimes it's not the food itself that's the problem. It's the timing, the pairing, or the packaging. Be gentle with your body. Pay attention to how it responds. And remember, just because something is labeled healthy doesn't mean it's helping you. Now let's put it all together into a simple nighttime plan. Nothing complicated. Just a few easy steps to help you sleep deeper and feel more steady in the morning. I once had a patient named Helen. She was 75, full of life but always tired. She said, "Doc, my days are fine but my nights are all over the place. I feel like I'm living in short naps between bathroom trips." She had tried medications. Even those herbal teas. But nothing stuck. So I offered her something different. Not a pill. Not a big change. Just a simple 5-minute routine. And I want to share it with you too. Step 1: choose one bladder-friendly snack. A small handful of raw unsalted almonds. Or one Brazil nut. Or a mix of walnuts and pumpkin seeds. Not too much. Just enough to give your body calm, steady nourishment. Step 2: have it 1 to 2 hours before bed. Not right before you lie down. Give your body time to digest and settle. That little buffer makes a big difference. Step 3: hydrate wisely. About 2 hours before bedtime, drink a small glass of water. After that, just take small sips if needed. This trains your body to manage fluid earlier in the evening instead of sending signals at 2 a.m. Step 4: calm your nervous system. That might be turning off screens, dimming the lights, or simply taking 5 deep breaths before you head to bed. For Helen, it was sitting by the window and watching the moon with her dog. And step 5: make it a ritual. When your body knows what to expect, it begins to cooperate. The bladder calms down. Digestion relaxes. Sleep becomes deeper and more steady. Helen followed this plan. Within 3 weeks she was sleeping through the night more often than not. And more than that, she felt proud. "Doc, it feels like I finally found something that works with my body, not against it," she said. That's the power of a small routine done with care. You don't need to overhaul your life. Just 5 minutes of the right choices can rewrite your nights. And once your nights feel more peaceful, something surprising happens in the morning too. Let me show you what starts to shift when you finally give your body the rest it's been craving. There's one patient who still comes to mind whenever I talk about this. Her name was Linda. She was 76 and had raised 5 kids mostly on her own. She had that kind of quiet strength you notice right away. But when she came into my office, she looked defeated. "Doc, I don't need much," she said. "I just want one night where I can sleep without getting up 5 times. Just one night." That stuck with me. Because for so many of us, sleep has become a luxury. Something we used to have and now just hope for. But here's what I've learned after 30 years of caring for older adults. When we give the body the right signals, when we create the right rhythm, when we remove the things that silently disturb us, sleep returns. Not always in one night. Not always perfectly. But slowly, gently, and more naturally than you might expect. We talked about a lot in this video. The common nuts that may be waking you up. The gentle ones that help you stay asleep. The power of evening routines and thoughtful food pairings. But underneath all of it is one deeper truth. You are not broken. Your body is not failing. It is trying. It is speaking. And it will respond if you listen. Linda made just a few changes. She swapped her evening snack. Moved her water earlier. Turned her evening into a small routine. 3 weeks later she came back in with a smile and said, "Doc, I had 2 nights in a row with no interruptions." That might not sound like much to someone younger, but to me it felt like magic. And she's right. Better sleep is not just about feeling rested. It is about feeling safe in your body again. Steady. Clear. Alive. So wherever you are right now, I want you to hear this. You deserve to sleep through the night again. Not someday. Not maybe. But starting now. If this message spoke to you or helped someone you love, I invite you to help us continue this work. A small donation, a comment, or even just sharing this video helps us reach more people like you who are quietly struggling and ready for change. Thank you for being here. You are not alone in this. And your best rest may still be ahead of you. Sleep well. You've earned it.